Infrastructure spending was a key pledge of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government during the 2015 campaign. The Canadian Infrastructure Bank is now ramping up, and the head of the bank says it's open for business. We're joined now by Pierre Lavallee, the president and CEO of the bank. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
We understand that you're open for business, but you will not be financing the Trans Mountain Oil Pipeline project. Why is that, and what will you be focused on funding?
So the bank was created to invest in new infrastructure where the bank's participation would enable a project to come to life where private sector funding alone could not. We were not set up to assume political risk or underwrite political risk, and in that situation, the federal government decided that it would act directly and on its own.
So, Pierre, then let's talk about what kind of projects you are looking for. One of the criticisms about the bank is that it's taken a long time to see meaningful money go out the door, partly because it took a long time to hire you. You've been there now for a little while. When do we start to see big projects, and what do they look like?
So, as you know, I've been in the job just a few months, and we're still at the stage where we're pulling together a team. Good investments take some time to come together, to negotiate, to put in place, to come to life. So, I think it's going to, it's going to take some time for us to build an institution that has a mandate to deploy $35 billion over a 10-year period. It's a large mandate. It's one that we take very seriously, of course, and we want to do it well. In fact, we want to do it very well. So we're not going to rush into investments. Projects take time to gestate and come to life, and so we'll continue to engage. We have started, obviously. We made our first investment, and we'll want to build on that.
So talking about where you're at the process, are you talking about making the comprehensive list of projects? Are you talking about, have you already screened some projects that you're interested in?
So we're parallel processing on a number of levels. We're building a team. We've started. We're continuing to build a team. We're engaging with both private sector and public sector proponents on projects that they have been working on to identify what are the highest priority ones where our involvement will be most helpful. And those are the discussions that we're engaged right now, and that will continue, of course, on an ongoing basis for the next decade plus.
Pierre, what will some of these deals be? I know it's early, but what will the structure look like? Because we both heard it recently from big investors in the space that the returns aren't there to really attract the capital to some of these critical infrastructure projects. How do you structure them so that that private capital does come to the table?
So, the mature assets, or the pricing on mature assets, been going up steadily for the last several years, and that's where the returns have become thinner and thinner over time. What we're focusing on are greenfield projects in one of three focus areas, which is urban transit, trade and transport, and green infrastructure. And within that universe, we think that there will be projects that provide private investors acceptable, reasonable returns, but frankly, where without our involvement, the projects may stay on the shelf and never come to life. So our goal is to move these projects from the shelf and pre-planning stages into real new infrastructure that will benefit Canadians.
And what kind of returns do you need to have to deliver?
So we recognize that we won't achieve market-level risk-adjusted returns. Frankly, if we can negotiate market-level risk-adjusted returns, it means that the private sector and the private investors are able to achieve those returns, and therefore they should do it. So we're looking for something that is going to be slightly below that, and we have the flexibility to do that. We have the flexibility to play anywhere in the balance sheet of a project. So we're looking for very customized solutions on very specific projects.
Pierre, it's a known fact that here in the U.S., we do have problems with infrastructure. We have yet to see an infrastructure bill passed through Congress. When you look at the system here in the U.S. and Canada, is there anything that the U.S. system can improve on, or is there anything that Canada can learn from what the United States is doing?
I'm not an expert on the American system, so I'll pass on that part of it. I think what we're trying to do is complement the existing and traditional way that infrastructure has been built in Canada by putting in place a different formula where we can marry some public support with private sector funding in new revenue-generating infrastructure. And hopefully, if we're successful, others around the world would look
What
at our
form will
example
your-
and try to emulate us. That'd be a
What
great
form would
compliment.
your first project take?
So our first investment that we made, we announced a little over a month ago, is a 15-year loan on a urban transit project in Montreal, which we have great hope will be a great success.